White cops frame black woman, unaware she's a CIA agent. The truth explodes in court. Late at night, in a quiet town in Virginia, two officers pulled over a black woman, accusing her of a crime she didn't commit. What should have been a routine stop took a dark turn. This was a setup? But what these cops didn't realize was that the woman they targeted wasn't just any civilian. She had the power to dismantle everything they thought they controlled. This story takes an unbelievable twist, exposing a web of lies, corruption, and ending with a revelation so explosive, it shakes the entire police department to its core. The night was still in Arlington, Virginia. Streetlights hummed faintly, flickering above the empty sidewalks as the occasional car sped down the road. Behind the wheel of a sleek black SUV, Talia Porter drove through the quiet neighborhood, her hands relaxed on the steering wheel. She glanced at her watch, just past midnight. It had been a long day, but there was a sense of accomplishment. Her undercover mission in this town was nearly complete. Everything was in place for a smooth exit, or so she thought. As she neared an intersection, she slowed down, her sharp eyes catching the faint glint of a reflective stop sign. Years in the field had trained her to notice details others might miss. She came to a full stop, steady hands on the wheel, before making a left turn. Then, blue and red lights flashed behind her. The piercing wail of a siren shattered the stillness of the night. Talia's heart didn't race. No panic.
She was trained for this.
Instead, her mind sharpened. Her breathing remained steady. She glanced in the rearview mirror. A squad car was closing in fast. Headlights cast long shadows across her dashboard. Keeping her movements calm, she pulled over, switched off the engine, and reached for her glove compartment to retrieve her license and registration. The patrol car came to a stop just behind her. Its lights kept flashing as two officers stepped out, deliberate, calculated movements. The driver, a tall man with a square jaw and an air of authority, was the first to approach. His partner, shorter and stockier, followed close behind. Both wore the navy blue uniforms of the Arlington Police Department. Their badges gleamed under the streetlights. Talia's sharp gaze caught their names as they closed in. Officer Brandon Carter. Officer Mark Sullivan. "Good evening, ma'am," Carter greeted, his tone carrying that rehearsed air of authority. He leaned slightly, shining his flashlight through her window, the beam sweeping over her face and the SUV's interior. "You know why I pulled you over tonight?" Talia kept her expression neutral, meeting his gaze without hesitation. "No, officer," she replied evenly. "I wasn't speeding, and I came to a full stop at the intersection." A small, condescending smile tugged at the corner of Carter's lips. "Actually, you didn't stop," he said. "That's a moving violation." Talia's brow furrowed slightly, but just slightly. "I'm certain I stopped, officer," she said, her voice firm but measured. "You must be mistaken." Carter's demeanor shifted. "License and registration," he cut in, his tone sharpening. Without hesitation, Talia handed over the documents, her movements deliberate and controlled. She wasn't about to escalate the situation unnecessarily. Carter studied her papers. His eyes lingered on her license. "Virginia plates. Local address," he muttered, almost to himself. Then louder, "You live around here?" Talia gave a simple nod. Before she could say more, Sullivan's voice rang out from the back of her vehicle. "Hey, Carter, you might want to take a look at this." Talia's jaw tightened slightly. She watched them through her side mirror as Sullivan pointed at something, his voice low, conspiratorial. Carter's gaze flicked to his partner. They exchanged a glance. A knowing glance. A flicker of unease sparked in Talia's chest. Not fear, she rarely felt that. But this was a warning. Moments later, Carter returned to her window. His expression had changed.
Grim.
Serious. "Step out of the vehicle, ma'am." Talia tilted her head slightly. Her voice remained calm. "May I ask why, officer?" Carter's reply came, cold and clipped. "We've got reason to believe you're in possession of illegal substances." Talia's eyes narrowed. "Illegal substances?" she repeated. "I think you're making a mistake." Carter's smirk widened. We'll see about that. He gestured for her to exit. Sullivan was already waiting at the back of her SUV, a smug look plastered across his face. Suppressing a sigh, Talia stepped out, unhurried, deliberate, like she had all the time in the world. Sullivan theatrically lifted the trunk and gestured to a small, unmarked bag sitting neatly inside. Well. Sullivan drawled, feigning surprise. Look at that. A bag of powdery goodness. Talia's gaze flicked to the bag, then back to the officers. Her face remained unreadable.
But inside?
Her mind was already working fast. That bag wasn't there before. This was a setup. Carter stepped closer, his smirk widening. Anything you want to tell us, ma'am? Talia's lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile, controlled, calculated. It conveyed neither fear nor guilt. I'll save my comments for the appropriate setting, she said. Carter chuckled, clearly mistaking her composure for arrogance. Oh, you'll get your chance, he sneered. You're under arrest. Possession with intent to distribute. Sullivan grabbed her wrists, locking the cuffs in place. Talia didn't resist. She kept her gaze steady, unwavering. You're making a mistake, she said softly. Something in her tone made Sullivan hesitate, just for a split second, before snapping the cuffs tighter. Carter scoffed. Yeah?
We'll see, he said.
As they led her toward the squad car, Carter threw out one last taunt. Let's see how confident you are in front of a judge. But as they drove toward the station, Talia sat in the back seat, her expression calm. Because these officers had no idea who they were dealing with. And soon, they were about to find out.